and welcome to another episode of Builds by Bailey. Today we're going to be working on the Corolla in the background. It's been a little while since we've been able to do that, a few months or so. Since then we've actually reached 600 subscribers on YouTube. Thanks once again for getting me to that level, and thank you to all the new subscribers that are here for the first time, or will be here for the first time. So today we're actually going to be setting the seat and the steering wheel height where I want it to be at for me to drive this car. Right now the Techno Toy Tuning seat sliders, or not really sliders, the seat mount brackets don't go far enough forward for me because I'm a short person. I'm about 5'6", 5'7", and have short legs. So I'm going to try and get that a little bit farther forward by modifying the brackets just a little bit. Nothing to damage its strength or integrity, just so I can get a little bit more forward movement out of it. And then on the TE72 or KE70 or AE71, whatever chassis you've got, on the steering wheel, for the actual brackets that hold it to the chassis, the steering shaft, there are 2 bolts. And on that, we're going to make some spacers to actually lower the steering wheel just a little bit. Because right now it feels like it's in my face, and I don't really want that. So we're going to lower it down a little bit and try and get that seat enough forward so I can touch the pedals the way I want to. If I can't get the seat forward enough, then we'll look into other options for pedals. So follow along while we do some modification today and make this work for my short frame. As you can see, I sit pretty far back. Like, this is actually where my head sits on the headrest. So I sit pretty far back in the seat itself. So I kind of want to move it forward just a little bit. And the steering wheel is also, the top of it's right at eye level. So I kind of want this to go down about here. So from here to here, which on camera it doesn't look like that much, but it's about 1.5 inches that we're going to move it down. And then the seat, I want to sit about here, which is a pretty good distance that you can see. So we're going to try and modify the brackets for the seat and those points that I showed you on the steering wheel. So as you can see, the slider portion of the seat brackets are pushed as far forward as they can because this back bolt here is limiting it, so it won't be able to slide any farther forward. So the front bolt actually has about 1.5 inches worth of play. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole about where the middle of this bracket's at so that there's some more play for this to go forward. So that way we can get the seat as far forward as we can get it. That will allow this part to be set at the back and give us a little bit more room to reach the pedals that are way up there for me since I'm really short. And then on the steering wheel, inside here, see if I can get my flashlight out. Inside here, you see that bolt that's up in there, or that nut I should say. That nut is what holds the steering column into the chassis. So I bought some longer bolts to go into that, and we'll replace those so that way we can actually lower the column just a little bit more. There's one on each side. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the back location that I want to actually drill the hole at, and then we'll take the seat off. So I've got a silver Sharpie because I'm working on black Sharpies you can't see as well. So I'm just going to make a mark, this little dot right in the center of that where I'm going to drill my new hole at. So I got a dot down in there, make sure it's in the middle. And then I'll do the one on the other side, and then we'll take the seat out. So as you can see, I've got my two little silver dots on there. We're going to go ahead and put these in the vise, mount them up so that way I can drill the holes in these. Yeah, so let's go ahead and do that real quick, and then we'll put it back in the car. Okay, so now you can see we got our 2 holes drilled in there. Let's go ahead and mount it back up and see where the seat sits. So once we do that, then we can start adjusting the steering wheel. Okay, now you can see that I've got the front bolt all the way back as far as it'll physically go. There's a little bit of an overhang there, and now there's actually access to that back bolt. Beforehand, you had to like get a real skinny wrench in there to tighten it down. So that's all able to be mounted now. So let's get in, let's see how it fits with the steering wheel. Okay, the pedals are a lot better feeling now. Actually can put my heel firmly on the floor and touch the pedal the way I want to. Everything feels a lot better now with just that 1.5 inches or so worth of space that we move forward. The steering wheel's still up pretty high. The seat actually sits better in the cage now, for where the cage crossbars come down. It actually fits in the pocket a lot better, so it's not touching like it was before. But yeah, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to drop the steering wheel down. In order to do that, I've got to take the dash back apart. So let's go ahead and take that apart real fast. So Toyota from the factory put these 2 bolts, which are the ones that we're going to replace, they put them underneath these little cages on either side. So we're going to have to cut those cages off the top. So let's go ahead and do that real quick, and then that'll expose it so we can get these bolts out and the new longer ones in. Okay, now you can see that the old bolt's out and the new bolts are in. Went ahead and cut the cages off the top, and the new ones just slip right in place. Now the good thing about these is they still have all that side-to-side adjustability that you could do beforehand, and I also got the right thread pitch bolts to reuse the locking nuts that came on it. So those are now in place. Let's put the dash back together and see where we need to set the steering wheel. So as you can see, I have a couple of spacers put in there. They're about 1.25 inches long, which is a little longer than I think I want, but that's good because I can trim them. So when I put the steering wheel on, now it sits a little too low. So I want this is about my line of sight, I want the top of the steering wheel to be right about the top of that line. So we're going to trim those spacers down to about 1 inch, see how that fits, and then we'll go from there. If we need to shave a little bit more, we'll do it by 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 until it fits perfectly the way I want it to. So let's go ahead, take those back out real quick, and then shave those down to 1 inch. Okay, so I went ahead and I cut off the spacers. I cut them down. I actually had to cut them twice, so I cut about 1/2 inch off of them. So now they're about a little less than 3/4 of an inch, so about 11/16. But that seems to be perfect. So now whenever I plug the steering wheel in and put it in place, the steering wheel is right at the top of the dash, which is where I want it. So I want to be able to see out the dash at its full capabilities without having the steering wheel in my vision. So that was the idea. Plus, I really like where it sits. It's pretty nice about this height. So, where beforehand it felt like I was driving a school bus with it way up in the air. So to recap what we did today, we moved the seat forward. So now I'm actually in the window and not behind it. So move the seat forward about 1.5 inches today, as far forward as we physically can get with a Techno Toy Tuning's seat bracket. We also lowered the steering wheel by about 3/4 of an inch. So everything seems to fit nice and comfortable now. Next step will be to see about buying a handbrake, getting that installed and getting that comfortable. And then everything in the cockpit, for the most part, will be finished. So we'll be able to start scuffing it and getting it ready for paint. Got some pretty cool ideas on what I want to do on the inside here. Got to get the cage ready and all the interior. So once again, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends.